Hello, and welcome back to Mindset Matters. My name is Victoria, and I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm excited for you to join me today. Today, we're going to talk about being a people pleaser and like how to say no. I guess kind of setting boundaries. I did an episode on setting boundaries, but I want to really get into if you're someone who struggles to say no in general. So before we kind of jump into it, I kind of wanted to just chat with what's going on with me, how things are going. I feel like this has been on my mind. I feel like I've had a really good week in certain aspects, but then not a great week in other aspects. But I think that's kind of funny how, depending on the variable you're measuring, it can kind of determine whether you feel like things are going well or not well. So, for example, I've had a really good work week. I feel like I've got a better sense of direction with what I want to do with Mindset Matters. And so I've been working on some stuff. I'm super excited about it. And it's been good. I've been putting in work. I've been putting in a lot of hours, getting stuff done and feeling good about that. So that's great. But then I think of like my personal life, and I'm like, not that things are going bad or anything is wrong, but I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of people. I had a few like plans this week that like fell through. I'm rolling my eyes if you're just listening. I don't know. And I feel like there's been certain people in my life who have kind of been inconsistent. And that can be really frustrating because I think when people are inconsistent, it shows us like, okay, is something going on with you and you're just busy? Or is something going on with us and you don't want to hang out with me anymore, or you don't care enough to be consistent or like stick to plans? Anyways, so that's something that's been on my mind, and I've honestly been trying to not think about it too much. You know how much I care about presence and just focusing on the now. So whenever I start to spiral and try to like have all the answers, that's another thing. If you don't talk to the person, I feel like you can't get those answers on your own. And we will torture ourselves trying to figure it out. But unless you talk to them and really get their perspective, you don't know. So I've been trying to just let it go. Anyways, so where are my people pleasers at? I see you. You don't set boundaries. You always say yes. You put yourself last. If this sounds like you, hopefully this episode will be helpful because honestly, I actually don't really struggle with this. And I kind of like saying no to things that don't align with me, and I've gotten pretty good at it. I think there's a way to say no, and I'm not like, hopefully, hopefully not rude about it. But I do enjoy being able to just say no and kind of know that I'm just creating more space for things that like do align with me. Oh my gosh, I actually really need to go to the chiropractor because my neck right now feels like, oh, I just need to stretch for a sec, guys. Everyone pause unless you're driving and stretch with me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, I gotta go to the chiro. I haven't gone in months because I got my knee surgery, but I think now maybe I could make the trip. Okay. Anyways, I think what I was saying is that I don't actually struggle with being a pushover too much because I don't know. I feel like I'm so comfortable and confident in the relationships I've built with the people in my life. Just ignore what I said in the intro about inconsistency. But in general, I have very strong friendships, strong relationships with my family that I feel like I'm not afraid to say no. I know that that's not going to like determine the fate of our relationship. So anyways, let's get into why. Like, let's think about why people struggle with saying no in the first place. And if you feel like you have to say yes all the time, like what's kind of the root cause of that? So I think the first thing could be fear of upsetting people. You don't know how people will react. You might have reactive people in your life, and you might just know, if I say no to this thing, so-and-so is going to be so mad at me. And the thing is, sometimes that could be true. But sometimes I think that's just in your head of you assuming that they're going to be mad if you say no to something. So that could be saying no to being able to do someone a favor, saying no to helping someone move, saying no to going out to an event that you just don't really want to be at, or you're just not feeling it, you know? So I think that's a big one, fear of upsetting people. Another one is FOMO, fear of missing out. I used to have so much FOMO in university. And it's funny because I would have FOMO for things that I didn't even care about. And I would want to go just to not miss out, even though I knew I wasn't really going to have a good time. And I think that's a funny thing about FOMO is like we want to be there, even if we know in our gut feeling or we know from past experiences that it's just not going to be something we really enjoy. But we want to be there because that's just what you do. And with FOMO, I'll say too, I think something that ends up being really hard is when you stop getting invited to things. So let's say, you have a bit of FOMO, but you know you're not going to have fun, so you stop going. So you say no when you're invited places. Eventually, if you keep saying no, you're probably going to stop being invited. And I think that can be so painful, even though you're like, well, I would have said no anyways. Why am I upset about not getting invited? But sometimes it's just the act of getting invited that makes us like so excited. So that's kind of another thing. But I think, fear of missing out, whether it's a party, whether it's a work opportunity, it could be anything. I think we do have this fear of missing out. You're like, ooh, maybe I should say yes. Another one is like lack of awareness of your intuition, right? Like I didn't realize it would feel like this, or, oh, I kind of had a gut feeling to not go, but I didn't listen to it. Or if you don't know how to tune into your intuition, it can be really challenging. So that's kind of what I want to shift into is like why you should say no if you get these types of feelings from your intuition. So first of all, I want to get into an example of where I used my intuition recently. I listened to it and I feel like I made the right decision. And this was a work opportunity. So back in August, my second job that is online, I've been doing it for like 2.5 years, it ended. So the role that I was in was kind of no longer going to be there. They're switching things up. So we all kind of got let go from that position. And at the time, I'll be honest, I had already kind of felt like I was a little bit over it, or it just felt a little repetitive, or I wanted something new. But I'll be honest, the money was really good that it was worth it for me to stay. It was a few times a week. It was worth it. So it ending kind of made me feel like, oh, this is creating space for like new things or things that I really want to be doing right now. So I felt good about it. But actually a few weeks ago, I got a message from one of the people who still work there. And he said, hey, I'd love for you to come try out for this role. We're opening a new type of role, whatever. And I thought, oh, this could be good. Why not take this opportunity? But I got a gut feeling to say, no, don't go backwards. Like it kind of felt like if I went back to this job, it was going to be backwards. And it wasn't the same job that I had prior, so it was going to be a little less engaging. So anyways, I ended up saying yes to coming out to this tryout. It was kind of like a in-practice interview, so he called it a tryout. So I originally said yes, and then the day came, and I ended up deciding not to do it. And I messaged him, well in advance of the actual session, and I wasn't going to be the only one joining, so it's not like I completely... it's not like I was super rude to not show up, but I just had a gut feeling like this isn't for me anymore, and I need to continue to make space for the things that I really want to be doing. And I said no. And I'm actually really proud of myself for that, because I knew in my gut feeling that like it would kind of feel like going backwards, or I wasn't going to super enjoy it, or it was going to feel, I don't want to say boring, but it just wasn't aligning with what I want to be doing right now. So that was a good way to say no for me, and a good boundary. And I don't know, just it felt good. Okay, so let's get into our intuition. I feel like our intuition is rarely wrong. I don't want to say it's never wrong, but I mean, some people would definitely argue your intuition is never wrong. So I think when we have to think of our intuition, you have to kind of learn to tap into your yes and your no signals. And this takes awareness, self-awareness. I talk about this like every episode, but everything to me starts with self-awareness. You have to learn to tap into the signals your body is telling you. To me, intuition comes from within. It's like something in your body. It could be like a tingle. It could be like a sinking gut feeling. You might have a yes and a no signal. And I think it can take time to kind of tap into that. But next time you have to make some sort of decision, try to like think about your gut feeling, your initial, almost like your initial reaction to it. Is it positive? Is it exciting but scary? Because I think that's another thing. And I talk about this example a lot with Fight to Win Cancer. I had a gut feeling that I should say yes, but initially my reaction was, hell no, I cannot fight in a ring and actually box. But as soon as I said no, my intuition was like, wait, you made the wrong choice, go back. So with that, I would say if you can sit with a decision for a little bit, like if you don't have to decide something right that second, I think a good practice is to like give yourself 24 hours and really kind of see what you're feeling. Like maybe you have to weigh pros and cons. But I think too, if you have to weigh the pros and cons, or if you have to convince yourself to do something, your gut is probably telling you not to do it. Like you should feel like, yes, I want this. And if you have to like convince yourself, I feel like it's not for you. Like even with this recent job opportunity, I was like, you know what? You know, it's online, so it'd be convenient. It's 2 times a week. Okay, 3 hours here, 3 hours there. And I was really trying to convince myself like why it would be worth it. And at the end of the day, I was like, no, I'm just not feeling aligned with this. So yeah, trying to tune into your yes and no signals, trust your gut feeling, give yourself time to sit on it. And again, yeah, if you have to convince yourself, I just don't think that it's really for your soul. Like your soul isn't craving that thing. And I guess these are kind of examples maybe for bigger things like a job or, you know, I mean, even going to a party or something. Like you might have that feeling of, oh, I should convince myself to go, but I really don't want to. And I don't know. I think it depends on the context too. I said this in my video about being selfish. Of like, if you don't want to go to a party, don't go. But if it's your best friend's birthday party, you know, I would probably say it's worth showing up for a little bit, unless you're super sick or something. So that's about like making sacrifices for people you love and care about, right? Like you would want your friend to show up for you, so show up for them. But I think just on a regular level of people pleasing and always feeling like we need to say yes, you know, trusting your intuition will at least help guide you to know if something is something that you do not want to do. Before we move on from intuition, I just want to quickly say that I know sometimes you might need to do something temporarily, even if it's not super aligned. Like let's say you're not loving your job. Maybe you can't just quit and leave. Like you need to maybe find something else first. So I totally understand saying yes to things temporarily and being like, okay, this is something I have to do for now, or I can't quite leave yet, you know, because even though you don't feel aligned in it, we all need to make a living, etc. Okay, so let's get back to like people pleasing. Okay, I feel like I actually just went super off topic in my example, so sorry. See, now I'm trying to be a people pleaser and make sure you love this episode. No, but okay, people pleasing, I feel like it can also just be like saying yes to favors all the time. And when people know that you are the type of person like, oh, she'll always help. Like, oh, Victoria will say yes. Like, I'll ask her. And if you always say yes to helping people with favors, you know, big or small, like sometimes you have to say no. And you might be just someone who's super helpful and kind and you just genuinely enjoy helping out. But sometimes things are going to come up and you're like, oh, like I really have a deadline with work. I don't have time to help this person. And you're going to feel super guilty, but you shouldn't. And I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't feel guilty for having to say no. And I think that's kind of what people pleasers end up feeling is like, it's like that fear of upsetting someone or feeling like you should have time to do all these things and be this huge thing for every single person in your life. And at the end of the day, like, you need to take care of you and it's okay to say no. So I kind of want to get into like how to say no, because I mentioned that I'm pretty good at saying no, but I think there's a way to do it. And when I messaged this guy back about the job, I said, you know what? Thank you so much for thinking about me, but I realize that the timeline just not going to really align with what I'm doing right now. So best of luck finding the right people. And again, thanks for thinking of me. And he was totally like, yeah, no worries. Best of luck in your next journey or whatever you're up to. So you can leave things like amicable and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Okay, but again, that's kind of work related, where if he got mad at me, that would be weird. But a friend in your life, your mom, different people that are just like friends asking you to help them with stuff. I understand where people might get upset or you might feel worried that someone's going to get upset. So how do you say no? Like, let's say just someone's trying to hang out with you all the time and maybe they're going through something, or they're just, okay, actually, I'm going to give an example. This is made up, but let's say your friend just broke up with their partner. And so they're feeling like they really just need the company right now. They're not used to being alone. They're sad because of the breakup. So they're kind of leaning on you and they're wanting to hang out all the time. And at first you're like, yes, I'm totally there for you. You have a couple movie nights, you go out one night, you're trying to make your friend feel better. But it gets to a point when you're like, oh my gosh, I need time just to like live my own life and do things that I want to do. Or you're feeling like all of your time is being dedicated to this person. This is a sticky situation potentially because you feel bad. They just went through a breakup. You want to be there for them. But at the end of the day, you also need to be there for yourself. So I think it's okay to say to that person, like, hey, I have really been loving being able to spend time with you. But I'll be honest, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because I'm not used to having such a busy schedule and I've got other priorities right now that I really, really need to focus on. So, instead of hanging out this week, can we push it to next week? Okay, I think that's so fair to say because you're setting a boundary of, hey, I'm really busy with other things. Two, you're still telling them that they are important to you and that you're enjoying seeing them, but it's just feeling a bit overwhelming. You're allowed to express how you feel. I think that's another thing is people sometimes think like, oh, well, my friend's going through a breakup, so I don't even deserve to feel a type of way. But yeah, you still have feelings. You're still human. And I think it's totally fair that you're feeling overwhelmed because all your time is going to this one person, So, or maybe you have other friends that you want to prioritize too. So it's okay to express how you feel. And at the end of the day, I think I can't stress this enough, is we tend to get so in our heads about how we think the other person is going to respond. But at the end of the day, you cannot control other people. You cannot control someone's reaction, someone's response, someone's way of thinking about what you say. That's out of your control completely. So for your own sake is, okay, I want to come from a place of being conscientious of their feelings. I want to come from a place of expressing how I feel. And I want to be respectful to them and polite and let them know that I care. And that's how I want to present this information. I'm not coming across passive aggressive. I just want to express how I feel and let them know that I can't dedicate all my time to them. And if they decide to react against you really, really angry, or they get upset, like, that's not your fault. It's not your responsibility completely how someone else responds. And I think someone who really is a people pleaser or is afraid of upsetting people will feel like, oh, they're mad at me, it's my fault. But it's like they chose to be mad. At the end of the day, like, you think about the last time you reacted to something and you were kind of like mad about what your friend did. Okay, like let's flip the script. You're in the position where someone's putting a boundary with you and saying no. Are you going to suddenly be like, oh, you don't even care about me? You're not my friend. Like, I really need you right now. Like, that's on you for reacting that way. But if you decide to understand or really try to understand where they're coming from, and you might think like, oh, you know what? Thank you for hanging out with me so much. I didn't know that you were feeling overwhelmed. I'll try not to just fully lean on you, but maybe I can reach out to another friend, or just maybe I can sit with my loneliness a little bit. Like, you have to, that person has to spread their wings at some point, and be able to take care of themselves. So I think when you look at things from both sides, it can help put in perspective of like, okay, their reaction is actually not my responsibility. And I don't know, there's people in your life, like you might think you know how someone's going to respond based on their history, right? Maybe there's someone in your life who just tends to have a quick fuse, or you probably think they're going to get mad, or they're going to think you're like out to get them. Again, it's not your responsibility. If that person isn't super self-aware, or they can't put themselves in your shoes and they can't like look at it from different perspectives, yeah, they might get angry with you. But again, I just really want to stress that I don't think that that's on you and that you should feel guilty for that. A different example, again, could be if you're getting invited to parties. Maybe you're not really into drinking and you don't really want to be around people who are drinking. So I think it's okay to just say, you know what, my priorities are I'm prioritizing other things right now, but maybe we could meet up over coffee. If it's like the person you want to see, but the activity you don't like, then I think just say that's not really your priority, but offer a solution. Offer, hey, can we do this? Meet up for coffee? Can we go for a smoothie? Can we go to a workout class? Like whatever it is that align with your priorities, see if it also aligns with theirs. And maybe then they'd be like, oh, actually, I'd love to get for coffee, or I'd love to do a little art class together or something. Because sometimes it's not about the person, but it's about the activity. And if there's someone that you just don't want to see at all, and like you're too much of a people pleaser to like cut them out of your life, or to like be super direct, this is a hard one. Okay, let's say it's someone like you're dating, or you've gone on a couple dates and they're trying to see you again and you're like, I'm not feeling it. It's like, what's better? Leading them on, but like letting them down softly, slowly, like slowly disappearing, or just being direct and saying, hey, listen, I've had some fun with you, but I'm just not feeling like it's a love connection, or I'm feeling like more friend vibes. I don't know. I think this can be challenging, but I feel like being direct and being honest with someone is always better than just like not answering. I don't know. It's like no answer is an answer, right? Like if someone doesn't answer you, well, that's their answer. And this happened to me recently. It was more of a friend situation, but I had a friend who kind of fell off, and I kind of kept trying to see them, and they kind of kept just either pushing it off, or like canceling, or just not really responding to me. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, this person does not want to see me. And like, that's okay. I kind of lost a little respect for the fact that they weren't just honest with me. But again, maybe that's just something that they struggle with. I don't know. I would rather someone be honest and say, look, I'm just like I don't want to prioritize this friendship right now, or whatever. Or like, look, this is how I'm feeling. But I guess, not everyone feels comfortable doing that, so I kind of get that. But I don't know. I feel like stringing people along is not always nice. But yeah, I think if you're on the receiving end, no answer is an answer, okay? Don't beg for someone's attention. If they don't want to see you and you've tried a few times, let it go. If they want to see you, they'll make it happen. And if you've tried and you feel like you've put in effort, you can't keep chasing them down. It just won't work. So, but yeah, I think someone else's reaction is not your problem. I also want to emphasize, you don't owe everyone an explanation. Okay, maybe I'm contradicting what I just said. This friend, maybe she was like, you know what? I don't owe this person an explanation. I'm just going to fall off. And that's totally fair. I cannot say that she's wrong. I'm just saying my preference would have been for someone to be honest with me and straight up. But that's also because I'm more of a straight up person and I would rather be honest with someone. But again, different people have different things. And that's another thing is like, I feel like there's so many just like asides in my head right now. So sorry if this is random, but hopefully you're still with me. Is like, people have different communication styles. And I think it's okay to accept that and to know some people are more avoidant, right? We think of attachment styles, secure, anxious, avoidant. Depending on how people are in relationships, they're going to communicate differently. So while I feel like I have pretty secure attachment and I'm also pretty direct in my communication, not everyone is like that. And I don't need everyone in my life to be like that. But I think as you build trust with people, you kind of learn how people are and you can have honest conversations of like, hey, you know, I love when people communicate directly with me. You know, maybe next time you can tell me how you feel instead of just like avoiding it. Because then I felt like you just didn't want to see me at all. You know, whatever that looks like. But I think being honest and like being open to having conversations with people to tell them what kind of communication you like can be super beneficial, especially in a relationship type situation. But overall, what I was trying to say was that you don't owe everyone an explanation. It's okay to just say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that right now. Or, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm not available. And that can be it. Depending on who it is, like this is where I would say if it's someone you're close to, you might want to give an example or an explanation. But if it's kind of someone that you don't know super well, you don't owe them an explanation. Don't feel like you have to explain. Maybe you have something personal going on and you don't want other people to know about it, right? That's a good example of a time when you will keep it to yourself. And you don't have to lie. You don't have to make something up. You can just say, I'm sorry, but no, I'm not available. And that can be that. Okay, well, I must admit that this has probably been the most chaotic episode that I've ever done. Because, I don't know, I feel like my brain just kept giving me asides to input information. And I don't know if it was all related to being a people pleaser, but I hope something made sense. I hope you could get something from this. But I guess to just summarize, I think it's okay to be afraid of upsetting people. But I think it's scarier to think that you're always going to be like upsetting yourself. Okay, that was either super lame or super deep. But like, you might be afraid of upsetting people, but at the end of the day, you can only control your reactions, your response, and you can only control how you live your life. And so while you want to be there for people and help them and be a great person, I think you can still do that, but having boundaries. And if there's people in your life where every time you say no, they make you feel really guilty or icky or they're kind of mean about it, I don't know, that might not be someone you want in your life. Or I think it's okay to then be like, okay, this is not a regular visit type of friend, and that's okay. So just think about, you know, who are the people in your life? How do they make you feel? And can you show up for them, but also can you show up for yourself? And can you allow yourself to have boundaries and, you know, to say no when you have to? Because at the end of the day, you cannot be everything for everyone. And that's totally fair. And I would rather be everything for myself. And at the end of the day, you're the only you have to live with forever. And just a quick reminder that not everyone has a lot of self-awareness. So they might not even realize that they're dumping all this stuff on you, or they might not realize that they're asking so much of you. So if you just bring it up in a polite, kind way, they might actually be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that that's how you felt, or that I was doing this. So, I'll try to balance it out, or whatever that looks like. Okay. So I'm going to leave it here because now I'm just ranting on. But I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you soon. I do have some guests. I keep saying this, but I have some guests and some exciting things coming up. So I'm really feeling good. Stay tuned for that. And I will chat with you very soon. Bye.